The night
We can't
everything
stay
BJM, the
here.
rain fell like
What do
silver
we
needles
do?
from the dark sky,
Follow
washing
me.
the dust from the metal ground of Outpost 9. This human colony sat at the edge of known space, forgotten by most and protected by very little. Evan Hale walked alone through the narrow path between broken lights, his boots heavy with water and tired thoughts. He was a simple maintenance worker, not a soldier, not a hero, just a man fixing power lines so others could sleep warm. Most nights were silent here, but tonight felt different, colder, heavier, like space itself was holding its breath. Evan reached the door of his small shelter, a metal box barely large enough for one person. He keyed in the code and heard the lock click. That was when he heard it, a sound not from the wind or rain, but from someone breathing too fast and too weak. He turned slowly, his heart beating harder than the storm. In the shadow near the broken fence stood a figure, then another smaller shape moved, then another. An alien female stepped forward, her skin pale blue and cracked with cold, her arms wrapped tightly around two small children. Their bodies shook, their eyes wide and glowing softly in the dark. Evan had seen aliens before, but never like this. These were not warriors or traders, these were refugees. The alien mother lowered her head, her voice shaking as she spoke in broken trade language. "If I warm your bed, will you let us remain?" The words hung in the air like a wound. This was not an offer of desire. This was an offer of survival. Evan felt his throat tighten. He knew the rules. Harboring aliens without clearance meant prison or worse. Some species were marked for removal by galactic law. Helping them made you an enemy of peace. But as Evan looked at the children, something inside him refused to stay silent. They were thin, hungry, and afraid. They reminded him of old human history, of people once hunted simply for existing. The galaxy had advanced far in technology, but fear still ruled it. The alien mother took one small step closer, then stopped, afraid she had already gone too far. Rain ran down her face, mixing with tears she did not bother to hide. "Please," she whispered. Just one night. Evan did not answer with words. He stepped aside and opened the door wide. Warm yellow light spilled out into the cold night. The children gasped softly, feeling heat for the first time in days. The alien mother froze, unable to believe what she saw. Evan gestured inside, his voice calm but firm. "Come in." That was all he said. Inside the shelter, the air was dry and warm. Evan handed them blankets and wrapped them around the children first. The alien mother watched every movement carefully, ready to flee at the first sign of danger, but none came. She slowly relaxed, her legs shaking as she sat on the floor. The children curled beside her, already falling asleep from exhaustion. "My name is Sira," she said softly. Evan nodded and told her his name. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the rain hitting the metal roof. Sira finally spoke again, her voice full of pain and fear. Her people were hunted, labeled dangerous because of what they might become. Galactic patrols burned their homes and took their young. She ran for days, hiding, starving, losing hope with every step. Evan listened, his fists slowly clenching. He had heard stories, but stories felt different when they breathed beside you. A sudden hum outside made them all freeze. A patrol drone passed overhead, scanning the ground with blue light. Sira pulled her children close, covering their faces. Evan turned off the main light and stood still, barely breathing. The scan lingered near the shelter, then moved on. That was when Evan understood the truth. This was no small act of kindness. This was a choice that would follow him forever. He looked at Sira and spoke quietly. "You can stay tonight." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time, with relief. Outside, the storm continued. Inside, something rare was born. Trust between two species, the galaxy said, should never meet. Evan did not know it yet, but the moment he opened that door, humanity took its first step toward changing the fate of the stars. When the shelter became a CCRE team, morning did not arrive with sunlight, because the sky above Outpost 9 was always gray and heavy. Instead, morning arrived with silence, the kind that feels too quiet and makes the heart listen harder. Evan woke up slowly, his body stiff from sleeping in a chair near the door. For a moment he forgot why he was there. Then he heard a soft breathing sound behind him. Sira and her two children slept on the floor, wrapped tightly in the blankets he had given them. The children's small chests moved up and down in calm rhythm, something they probably had not felt in a long time. Sira was awake, watching Evan carefully, her eyes alert but no longer full of panic. "You did not leave," she said quietly. Evan gave a small tired smile and replied, "I said you could stay the night." Sira looked down at her children, then back at him. "Humans change their minds," she said honestly. Evan nodded, knowing she was not wrong. But he also knew something inside him had already changed. He prepared a simple meal from ration packs. Nothing special, just warm and filling. The smell alone made the children stir, their eyes opening wide with curiosity and hunger. They stared at Evan as if he were something strange and dangerous, yet safe at the same time. Sierra explained their names in a soft voice. They were twins, born during flight, born while running from fire and death. Evan handed them food slowly, making sure they felt no fear. The children accepted it with shaking hands, then ate faster than he expected. As they ate, Evan noticed marks on their skin, faint glowing lines that pulsed gently. He had seen similar patterns in old galactic data files. His heart sank. These children were not just refugees. They were valuable. Sierra noticed his reaction and lowered her head. "You see it," she said. Evan did not answer right away. He finally said, "That is why they are hunting you." Sierra nodded, tears returning. "My people are gentle," she said, "but our children are born with gifts. Gifts others fear. They say we will change the balance of the galaxy. So they decided to erase us before that could happen." Outside, the sound of engines echoed in the distance. Evan froze, listening carefully. Sierra grabbed the children and moved toward the back wall, ready to hide. It was not a patrol, but a supply transport passing by. Still, the fear stayed. Evan realized something dangerous. His shelter was no longer just his home. It was now a hiding place. "If they find you here," he said slowly, "they will destroy this place, and they will take you." Sierra looked at him with tired eyes and asked, "Will you send us away?" Evan felt the weight of that question press on his chest. Sending them away meant certain death. Keeping them meant risking his own life. He thought of all the times humans had asked others for mercy in history, and how often that mercy never came. "No," he said finally. Sierra closed her eyes, a quiet sound escaping her throat, half relief, half sorrow. The day passed slowly. Evan blocked external scanners and rerouted power to mask life signs, something he knew how to do from old repair work. Each action pushed him deeper into danger. Each action made turning back harder. As night returned, red warning lights appeared on Evan's console. Unauthorized scan activity detected. His stomach dropped. Multiple patrols were now searching the area. Closer than before, someone had reported alien movement nearby. Sierra stood silently, holding her children, waiting for Evan to decide their fate. Evan looked at the small family, then at the metal walls around them. This shelter had never felt like much, but now it felt like a line drawn in the stars. He spoke quietly but with strength. "No matter what happens next, I will not give you to them." At that moment, a loud knock hit the shelter door. Metal shook, alarms beeped softly. A cold mechanical voice echoed outside. "Open the door for inspection." Sierra's children clung to her, fear burning in their eyes. Evan stepped forward, placing himself between the door and the family. His hands shook, but his feet did not move. The knock came again, louder this time. Evan took a deep breath. He knew this was no longer about hiding. This was about choosing who humanity would be remembered as, and the door had not opened yet. The night humanity was testid. The knock did not stop. It became heavier, louder, like the door itself was being judged. Metal bent slightly with each impact, and warning lights flashed across the small shelter. Evan stood still, his back straight, his shadow covering Sarah and her children. The mechanical voice returned, colder than space. "This structure is under authority inspection. Failure to comply will result in forced entry." Sierra pressed herself against the wall, her body shaking. The children buried their faces into her chest, silent with fear. Evan could feel his heart beating in his ears, but his mind felt strangely clear. He stepped closer to the door and spoke through the thin metal. "There is nothing here for you." The voice paused, then answered, "Sensors indicate biological presence inconsistent with human life." Evan swallowed and replied, "Then your sensors are wrong." Outside, weapons powered up, their sound low but deadly. Evan knew what came next. Humans were not important enough in galactic law to be argued with. Behind him, Sierra whispered his name. Her voice carried something new, not fear, but regret. "You should not die for us," she said. Evan did not turn around. He reached for an old emergency console, mounted near the door. It was dusty and cracked, unused for years. His hand hovered for a second, then he pressed the hidden switch. A silent signal burst into space, short and old, but clear. A human distress code. Not a call for help, a call for witness. The door shook violently as tools began cutting through the metal. Sparks fell to the floor, lighting the children's frightened eyes. Evan moved in front of them fully now, spreading his arms without thinking. "If you want them," he shouted. You go through me. The cutting stopped. Outside, voices whispered, confused, annoyed. No human had ever done this before. Moments passed that felt like hours. Then the sky above the shelter changed. A deep sound rolled through the air. Not sharp like patrol engines, but strong and steady. Human ships dropped from jump space, their hulls dark and unmarked. They did not fire, they simply arrived. A new voice filled the area, calm and human. This is Captain Reyes of the human vessel Dawn. Answer. You are interfering with a protected human distress signal. The patrol commander responded with anger. This matter does not concern your species. Captain Reyes answered without raising her voice. It concerns our people. Therefore, it concerns us. Evan felt his knees weaken, but he stayed standing. Sarah looked up in disbelief, her eyes reflecting the human ships above. The patrol demanded the aliens be handed over. Captain Reyes replied with a question. Are they armed? No. Are they hostile? No. Then this ends now. Human ships moved into position, shields glowing softly, not threatening, but unmovable. The patrol hesitated. Galactic law allowed force, but not war, and humans had arrived in numbers they did not expect. After a long silence, the patrol withdrew. Engines faded into the distance, leaving the colony world quiet again. The shelter door remained closed. Evan leaned against it, finally letting his breath escape. Sarah fell to her knees, holding her children and crying openly. The human ships stayed above, watching, guarding. That night, the galaxy learned something new. Humans would stand between the weak and the powerful, even when no one asked them to. When the galaxy remembered, the silence after the patrol left felt heavier than the fear before it. Evan stayed by the door for a long time, listening to nothing, just to be sure. Outside, the human ships floated in the sky like quiet guardians, their lights steady and calm. Sarah slowly stood up, her legs weak, her children still clinging to her. She looked at Evan as if trying to understand what kind of species would do such a thing. No one has ever stayed for us, she said softly. Evan answered in a simple voice. Someone had to. Hours later, human officers entered the shelter, not with weapons raised, but with open hands. They spoke gently to Sarah, explaining protection laws humans had written for themselves. Not the galaxy, no life traded, no child surrendered, no warmth used as payment. The alien children stepped forward for the first time without fear. They touched the human insignia on the officers' suits, curious and calm. That small moment spread quickly through human command channels. Within days, Outpost 9 changed. More human ships arrived, not for conquest, but for shelter. Safe zones were declared, open to any species running from extinction. Other hidden refugees began to appear, watching humans from the shadows, then stepping into the light. Sarah and her children were moved to a protected human world. There, the children learned human words like home, promise, and tomorrow. They laughed. Something Sarah had not heard since before the hunts began. Evan returned to his work, but he was no longer just a worker, he was a symbol. Even though he never asked to be one, humans across many systems heard his story and felt something old awaken inside them. The galactic powers reacted with anger and fear. Humans were no longer predictable. They did not act for profit or power, they acted for each other. Years later, the galaxy would look back on that night, not as a battle, not as a treaty, but as a choice. A choice made by one human who opened a door instead of turning away. A choice that proved humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons, but its refusal to let the innocent suffer alone. And somewhere among the stars, a former alien child would tell the story of the night a human shelter became a sanctuary, and how everything changed because someone said yes without asking for anything in return.